The image you're looking at is from D-Day, June 6th, 1944. And just for a moment of silence, remembering the greatest generation went over and liberated Europe, fought for all of our freedoms. So let's do a minute of silence for that. "81 years ago today." Let me go ahead and change the screen up here a little bit. So 81 years ago today was D-Day, the beginning of liberation of Europe from the hands of the fascist Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler. It's a very somber day, but it's also a day of impending change in Europe at that time in American history and world history. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Um, Lots of those of the greatest generation are no longer with us. There's a few, and a lot of them are still celebrating, or at least acknowledging, not celebrating, but acknowledging this day. Many travel over to France. Many stay home. Also, the VA has a virtual thing now that the veterans in homes can actually, in nursing homes, can use a VR system and actually do things, view some of these things. You'll have to reach out to your VA to get that all set up if you're interested in that, but that can be done. One of my friends was talking about it today, Jennifer Hunt. I met at the VA a number of years ago now. She was working there. She and I had some good conversations, and then met her again at the White House. So D-Day, keep it in your mind. We may have to get back to doing something like that. Germany actually mentioned it to President Trump today. So they mentioned it in kind of passing because Trump was just being a buffoon again, saying something about Germany this is a bad day for Germany and all stuff like that. This is a day of freedom for Germany, actually. This is the beginning of the freedom, the end of tyranny. And Germany was suggesting that the greatest power on earth may have to do this again to make sure that Ukraine is free from the hand of the authoritarian dictator Putin, the KGB agent, who is trying to reestablish all the satellite states that he had one time under the Soviet Union. And, he won't stop with Ukraine. You all know that, right? Come on. I read an article today that must have been written by some kind of Russian troll or something, saying that Ukraine was going to lose all of this. Well, the one thing this person didn't account for was the passion and intensity behind Ukraine and what they're trying to do to protect their borders. But anyway, that's today. The other big thing happening today would be the Veterans March on DC. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of that. This occurred today. Everybody started meeting before 2, and then the march started at 2, I believe. I don't have all the details as to exactly how this unfolded or how it all proceeded, actually. I know that these are veterans who were employed by the federal government. And in the federal government, there's about 30% of them are veterans and their families. So we've got a lot of people in the federal government who have been laid off, obviously, who are veterans, laid off, fired, dismissed, downsized, whatever. And now now their care is under threat. Now the care that they have earned as veterans is under threat by Doug Collins, the Secretary of the VA, who is going out here saying everything's all right, all the veterans like what I'm doing, but in fact, they don't. He's trying to tell you what to think because that is not true. So many veterans are receiving subpar care now, many times in the past. And, my particular VA, I haven't been to visit them yet this year. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think I've been there this year. Anyway, so we've got a lot to consider. I know veterans all across this country who are letting me know that they are having challenges getting their care. And we know who they're going after from the Hegseth Secretary of Defense side, Doug Collins at the Veterans Affairs, the president, Kevin Roberts at Heritage Foundation. All these people, they have one goal in mind, and it is to privatize the VA. So they're trying to make it so miserable for people to work there right now. And I'm hearing this too, that people are just disgusted with how things have turned out, because some of these people who were ordered back to work in their offices, which they hadn't been in years, even before COVID, they're going back to a closet or some small cramped space with somebody else trying to take care of the veterans. And you can't do that. You can't adequately take care of veterans if everything you do is being scrutinized and watched, and you're afraid to say anything if something's not going right, or if the veteran's not getting the care that they have earned. But yet the employees, the staff, are afraid to say anything about it because they know that shortly thereafter they would be fired, dismissed immediately. You got to be a yes person to work in this current administration. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to do exactly what you say, and you won't ever hear me complain about anything because I'm just not going to do it. No matter how many times the veterans cry to me, and no matter how many times I cry to the veterans about what I can't do and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's no wonder the people in the VA system are becoming really disgruntled with it. But that's what Doug Collins and Hegseth and Trump want. They want you to get frustrated. They want you to leave. They want to get rid of at least 83,000 employees within the VA system. And true, there may be some efficiencies that could be improved and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't seen I've been in a lot of VAs around this country. I mean, I've been in like 85% of them, maybe something like that, all across this country, the major VA medical facilities in all the lower 48 states. Yeah, I have never seen someone just walking around doing nothing. Yes, there are a lot of people working there on the staff who aren't necessarily directly taking care of veterans. But what do you expect the landscaper to do? What do you expect the electrician to do, the boiler room tech person to do, the IT people to do? You want them out there taking care of the veterans, or you would rather have the systems run that take care of the veterans? So you're going to get rid of 83,000 people, and I don't recall seeing too many people on staff in the VA system that were just sitting around anywhere in the country. Anywhere in the country. And I have been, like I said, in a lot of those spaces. Met a lot of really good people everywhere in this country, from Maine to Washington, from Texas to North Dakota. I've met a lot of veterans, and I've met a lot of staff all over the place in this country, from down in Florida all the way to California. Great people, great staff. Not a single person was there just wasting time. They always had something to do that actually benefited veterans in the long run, one way or another, sometimes directly, sometimes immediately. Sometimes it was making place look like it was livable, making it look decent for everyone. It was safe, somebody cooking food in the canteen, all this kind of stuff, down in the cafeteria. I mean, people were doing everything, and none of them didn't deserve to be there. At least not the ones I met. I met a lot of people. I can't tell you how many people I met across this country. And for them to say you can remove 83,000 people and still have an efficient VA system that takes care of veterans, you have got to be kidding. That is such a joke. Such a joke. That's why that image that you see on the screen right now of Veterans Unite for America, that's what that's all about today on D-Day. But it was also another day, a little bit later in the year, in July, I believe it was, sometime in July the 28th of 1932, there was another bonus army, an army that went out there. A bunch of people who had served in World War I wanted their bonus, wanted the bonus that the government had promised them. Set up camp in Anastasia on the campgrounds there, and set up tents. Police tried to push them down and try to get rid of them and push them out. The police did. Veterans. One person was killed in a shootout. Then the president ordered the army to go clear them out. McCarthy, Eisenhower, and Patton were the three generals who went in to remove the Bonus Army in 1932 from that camp in D.C. Yes, those three generals, one to later become president of the United States, went in and forcefully removed these people from their encampment because they were disturbing the peace. They were demanding something of the government that the government had promised and then failed to give. That's what is happening today in the VA system out here, the Unite for Veterans March in DC. That's what this was all about. This was the second Bonus Army, but back then they gave bonuses and stuff that's a little bit different in that regard. They'd been giving bonuses a long time. They just didn't do it that time, and people got pissed about it. They needed the money. In 1933, they offered them jobs with the Civilian Conservation Corps, some of them, a small group. So anyway, what we are seeing today is another march in opposition to removing the support system for veterans and their families. 30% of the federal force, the federal workforce, are veterans. So it is no wonder that when you have that many people and their allies and supporters and families who get really irate about that, being laid off and then told that they're doing it because you want to save some money on it. Look, take care of the veterans as you promised. Take care of the people that you promised to take care of. But why are they doing this to the VA system? Well, all you have to do is read Project 2025 and you can find out exactly what the plan is. Anybody have a guess? Well, the whole idea is to privatize the VA system. There are people and businesses and well-to-do people in this country who want to see the VA privatized. So you have to ask yourself, why? Why do they want to see the VA privatized? Because they can make more money and charge more. They can take over responsibility for the largest healthcare system in the country that employs the most doctors and psychologists, more than any one other organization in the whole country. And they know how to take care of veterans. They know how to take care of combat wounded people. They know how to address PTSD and things like that in ways that no civilian organization could ever possibly do. They just don't have the experience. These people in the VA are there because they are needed to be there. They need them. We need them. I need them there. Okay, because I'm a veteran too. It's just crazy, 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 crazy. So they're wanting to privatize the VA system. That is directly out of Project 2025 in the chapter on the VA. That's what they want to do. Oh, if you don't believe it, just go read the thing. You'll see that everything that they have wanted to do, that Trump has put it on steroids and making it happen, or at least his sycophants are. They're making it all happen, and they're pushing across all of these EOs and policy changes and stuff like that through the system and accomplishing everything that's in there. And they're doing it in such a headlong rush, knowing that it will be taken to court. They'll be stopped. They know all of that. They're going as fast and as hard as they can in the hopes that they can get something to stick. If they can get that something to stick this year, next year they'll try it again. They'll keep pushing, keep building up on the thing that they've got through the system now. Just keep pushing through. They've got a Supreme Court that's supportive of what they're doing. So they're just going to keep on pushing through. Hopefully we'll not get to the point where the army is being called up to disperse protesters like in the 1932 period. It's been done. There is a long history of this in this country. You think it just started in 1932? No, actually, the National Guard went out and against Ohio State, where 4 were killed in the war protests. George Washington sent Alexander Hamilton out to quell the Whiskey Rebellion out in western New York. An army of 12,000 strong people with General Alexander Hamilton leading it. We've done it many times, folks. There's nothing new about that. If they get to the place where they think they need to quell some kind of protest or revolt against what they're doing and how they're going about doing it, they will call up the military. Just get ready to be prepared for this, folks. They want to privatize the VA. They want to privatize the Postal Service. They want to make health care for all the minorities a difficult thing to access. They're slow walking the health care that we are getting, except for a few people. They're slow walking it. They're making it difficult to get. They're trying to push it through to the point where they can see. The goal is here, let me just talk about transgender veterans, for instance. One, you're kicking out transgender active duty people out of the military. And at the same time, you've told the VA that you can no longer accept new transgender patients for transgender care. You can only continue that care for the current ones. So you've got people coming out who can't get the care. It's just the beginning. They're not going to stop there. They want to actually, the next step is to deny care for all veterans, all transgender veterans and all LGBT veterans. And they especially want to make sure that no research is done that actually supports or at least looks into how best to care for this population of people. How dare they do any research to actually get quantifiable information that is useful, right? When you can't use the words. The thought police have said these words you can't use. The Trump administration have said this research you can't do because it has these words in it. You can't do those things under this administration. This is very opposite of ideological diversity, accepting it, recognizing it, working with it, learning from it, participating in it, at least whether you agree with it or not. Those on the right are out here going around saying, we just believe in ideological diversity. We think the campuses and the military and all this ought to be ideologically diverse. At the same time, out the other side of their mouth, they're saying, but you can't use this word, this word, this word, this word. There can't be no research on this particular topic. You can't do it this way. And how dare you even say that word out loud, because we'll fire you. That's where we are right now. And it pisses me off. The thing that's going on with the Harvey Milk, the USNS Harvey Milk, the oiler, is part of the John Lewis class of ships. They represent civil rights icons. Well, they're going after the Harvey Milk because he's a gay icon. He actually was elected as a supervisor in San Francisco for 11. He was there for 11 months before he and the mayor were assassinated. The man he was the icon. He was an icon of the gay community and of the LGBT community, okay? He was the icon for that. The person who actually started writing legislation that said, you've got to protect minorities in this country, particularly even these people. It applies to everybody. And he acknowledged that it's not that they want anything more. They just want at least parity. But we know that that's not achievable under this current system, because since the McCarthy era, and way before them really, but the McCarthy era, they started pushing down. The conservatives get all pissed about something, some social things that are taking place in the country or in the world, and they rise up and push it down. And then the next little thing comes along, like the Lavender Scare, where they kicked out all the lesbians and gays out of the federal government. And then the conservatives are all up here going, trying to push it all back down again, get rid of it. The civil rights movement, the same kind of stuff. Conservatives got all pissed about it. And I use conservatives because back then they were conservatives, the yellow dog Democrat kind, those Dixiecrats switched. That switched around. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. So every time any particular population in this country, a minority population, gains a little bit of ground to achieve parity with the rest of the nation, the conservatives get pissed about it and push it back down. Marriage equality comes along. Transgender people start being recognized in the news or accepted into the military. They're openly accepted and they are doing a fantastic job. And the conservatives are looking at it like, no, 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 we can't have that. I mean, that just is crazy. We can't do that. And they push it back down. Give it a few years, it'll go back up again. It's a gradual incline towards parity, but we never get there because it's like that. A cycle from liberalism to conservatism, liberalism to conservatism. But that's the combative nature of our political system in this country. And it's the nature of the thing that Washington tried to stop when he said to Jefferson and Hamilton, don't do that. You're arguing, you're creating two parties, and we can't have that in this country. But, anytime you have two people together, you're going to have two different views of things. Every time, all the time, every time. And they're going to try to build systems of support around themselves. That's just the way it works, folks. That's the way it's been in this country. We come by it honestly. Doesn't mean we can't try to push for good things for everybody. And gradually, and granted, over time, we do get there. But it is a struggle to get there because there are those who simply can't stand the idea of somebody else, particularly transgender people, gaining any kind of parity with the rest of the country. They just, for some reason, they can't handle that. But if you think this is new, you've got something else coming. I mean, shoot, they want to reinstitute the mental health institutions. There's discussions about that, bringing them back, even though we know scientifically and statistically that they do not work. They cause more problems than anything in society at the time. I mean, they put Alan Turing, the person who broke the Enigma code for the German code, Enigma code. Alan Turing, who broke that code, he was a gay man. So what'd they do? As soon as they found out, they put him in an institution, applied electroshock therapy to him, and tried to shock it out. I'm sorry, but it doesn't work that way. Being trans doesn't work that way. Being gay or lesbian doesn't work that way. You can't shock it out. You may try to hide it. You may try to cover it up to keep from getting hurt so much. And that's understandable too. There was a time when the people who went into mental health institutions, like Albert Cashier, who served as a soldier in the Civil War, a Union soldier, lived as a man at least a year prior to joining the Union Army, served in multiple battles all across the South, was actually captured by the Confederacy, and then escaped from them, went back and continued serving, and after the war, continued living as a man the rest of his life, drew a pension from the U.S. government, and then got hurt in 1910 and ended up that the doctor recognized that this person was actually physically, genetically a woman and not a man. Immediately put into a mental health institution, and their health declined after that. But here's the thing. The soldiers that he had served with defended him and made sure that he had full honors and got his pension restored because they knew he had done a great job. They made sure that he was buried with honor. But he had spent a large percentage of his life after 1910 in mental health institutions because they thought that that would cure them, or at least that this was worthy of being a mental health issue, and it's not. It's not that at all. But you know who else they put in mental health institutions? The turn of the 1900s, and sometimes right on up into 1910, 20, something like that. Left-handed people. Yeah, look it up. Left-handed people. Anytime a teacher would see a student using their left hand, they'd take that little wooden ruler they had and smack their hand and say, use only your right hand. You want to know what the rationale was for that? Because only the righteous sit at the right hand of God. So God must have been right-handed. He must have acknowledged that that was the only way to have things and do things and use your hand. That's the only one you could use. And if you used anything else, well, you had to be evil and sick and you needed to go to a mental health institution. That's what they did. Sure enough. That stuff went all the way up into the 60s, 1960s. I've heard those stories from people who experienced it. Yeah, if you're left-handed, oh my God, you're just, back then, that's the equivalent of being gay. Sad, really, isn't it? Sad, disgusting, horrible. But yet, you can't help being left-handed. That's a genetic thing. Some people are completely left-handed, can't use their right hand at all. Some people are kind of halfway there with being ambidextrous. They can use the left and right. Some people use their right hand and can't use the left hand at all. There are more right-handed people in the world than left. So just like there are more straight people in the world than there are gays and transgender people and lesbians in the world, well, this larger group must be right, because that's at the right hand of God, right? I want to tell you, that is so disgusting. It's not new. All these attacks, all this stuff going on within the VA to get rid of anything that acknowledges or helps take care of veterans who are trans or LGB. They're going to try to shut it all down, every bit of it. And it's all based on their ideology, their ideological perspective, okay? And all the people who are wanting to make the VA privatized and the postal system privatized and other things within the government privatized, they're only doing it because it makes them wealthier. They get more and more gold and glitter and all of this kind of stuff that makes them look good. You see a picture of the White House and you see President sitting in the Oval Office. That reminds me of some gaudy, gold-plated crap. Really does. Really does. It's gaudy. It's avarice beyond comprehension for most people. Trump and Musk and all of these people think they are entitled to have it all. Why? Because they made it to where they are. That's the only reason. That is the only reason. They think they are entitled to be where they are and get all the rewards of it, and to hell with everybody else along the way that they have to stamp out to get there. So in closing, I just want to say again, this is D-Day, June 6th, 2025, which is 81 years after D-Day. And to acknowledge all of that, and I just want to show great respect and appreciation for the fact that they liberated Europe and the rest of the world from that fascist dictator, Adolf Hitler. We've got a few more in the world today. Yep, some of them don't look like or act like that, but they are definitely there. But they're more interested in money and the power that comes with it. Have a great weekend, everyone. Come back on Monday at noon or noon-ish for the Midday Muster, and 6 p.m. Monday for the Path Forward. Have a great weekend. I'm going to spend the rest of this time with my family. And my family a lot of them have come in from Tennessee and Western Kentucky. And right now they were grilling some hot dogs. So I'm going to go get me a hot dog, folks. Y'all have a great